put a dent on this, and if I do, I'll do an actual review.
Guess what's not in my shop? All piles of wood chipper parts. Look at that. Woo! Alright. It was a major pain in the butt. The thing was just stuck right on there. And now I'm retapping the center hole. As I mentioned in my previous video, it was, you know, stripped out already from improper assembly, I think. And likewise, that bolt was screwy, and you can see the die right next to it. And I just got that rethreaded, got the threads all cleaned up. And the mystery is solved. After I pushed this thing back through, I took the back bearing off and pushed it back through to where it belongs. Look at that. There's supposed to be a C-clip or something. So that's what started this whole catastrophe, is the C-clip blew off. And the pressure of a log coming down the chute pushes that way on the blade, popped that C-clip off, and the whole blade jammed over through the machine that way. So I'm gonna have to call and get some parts for this thing. Oh, our kitty wants to say hello. Here's little Izzy. She's very curious about this. But so it looks like a C-clip is what's supposed to be on here, and I'm also going to ask them about these Zerk fittings. I'm pretty sure that even though I have a cute kitty, that doesn't mean I don't deserve Zerk fittings over here. I think those are supposed to have been there. So we'll see how that goes. But at least I'm to the point now where everything's apart. I'm getting this thing rethreaded so I can reassemble it. About you, but I call that a milestone. Look at that. There have all those threads cleaned up, and it's actually back together. And someone wants to be a superstar. 2 spacers. I'm going to have to pay attention to this, because as of right now, if I you can hear that noise, that's the knife, which is right here, rolling through and hit the back of this head. So if 2 spacers look too thick, I'm not going to use 2 spacers. Yeah, see, if I put 2 spacers in right there, that bolt head is going to contact. So I think 1 spacer will be better. Maybe that was what was wrong. This one shipped with 2 spacers. It says 2 in the manual, but I mean, you can see. I mean, it's contacting. Let me see how much slot there is before I commit to this one way or the other. Alright, now, see, this C-clip totally fills the groove. I'm pretty sure if I put this together this way, it's going to rub. Well, here's one of those dilemmas. Do you do it like the manual says and hope that when I tighten it from the other side, it makes a little more slack? No. Barely wanted to go on there. Alright. Here we are around the other side. And I need the keyway, or the key. Rather, I'll put it in the keyway. Ooh, it's a little tight. I'm going to have to tap that in lightly with a hammer. Alright, got this little block of wood here. She doesn't quite want to go on, does she? No, well, maybe I'm going to sand the... I think what I'll do next is sand the inside of the pulley. Sand it off on the inside. 99% of the paint off of there. Did I tell you about the delivery fiasco involved with this here pulley? Okay, so the pulley and a couple of other parts were supposed to be delivered to me in 6 days. That's what they quoted me when I talked to them at customer service. On day 9, they still weren't out at my house. I asked them for a tracking number, and they said, it'll be delivered today. Fabulous. Well, that day came and went. No package. In the morning, I checked the tracking. Delivered. So, now I live in a kind of a place that there is no way that this got dropped off in my yard and somebody stole it. So I went to my neighbor's house and, asked him if he had seen it, and of course no. Luckily, the following evening, but my neighbor from a couple houses up the other direction actually came down and had my parts. So luckily, they did get there, albeit 24 hours later than they were supposed to be delivered, which was already 3 days later than they were supposed to be delivered. But yeah, so just interesting little thing about how this whole situation has gone. Everything about this chipper, I believe there is a curse. I believe this is King Tut's chipper, and yeah, I might die of tuberculosis because I own this chipper somehow in the long run. But anyways, let's get back to putting this thing together. Okay, now I've sanded the shaft a bit. I sanded all the paint off the interior of the pulley. I dry fit the pulley on the shaft without the key. It fit great. So really the only thing left that could be too tight is the key, but I think we're pretty good now. And again, it'd be better if you had a dead blow hammer. I don't have one, so I'm using a block of wood. Make sure I don't dent anything. And look at that, that sucked right in exactly where it's supposed to be. Alright, washer, fine thread bolt. This stuff goes here. Tightens in. Now let me remind you, I had to re-tap all this stuff because it was that's not the right size. Alright. Because this was all completely stripped. So I had to re-tap the bolt and this hole, but now everything seems to be working pretty nice. Alright. And now I should start pulling, yep, I'm pulling the slack out of the other side. Oh, look at that. There's still the tiniest bit of play on the washer on the other side, but I mean, barely enough I can wiggle it, and the blades are no longer whacking on the bolts. I think I'm onto something. Now I need to get a piece of wood to jam the mechanism so I can tighten this up all the way. Because the mechanism won't spin. Let's see how we're doing. Alright, there's no slack on the other end now. So I would say I got some pretty good tension on that. Everything spins wonderfully. Oh, look at that. It's almost like it was supposed to work. Okay guys, now it's time to put the engine on. Right. Okay, this thing seems to need a lot of... I smoked the belt on this already, so I don't want this belt to be too loose. But I don't want it to be so tight that I want to stretch the hell out of it either. So, pretty tight though is what I'm shooting for. Through bolts. Put the nuts right here. Somewhere. Alright, belt guard is on, and really that's it. I mean, I didn't time myself. I'll check the footage, but I'm betting that's a half-hour fix. And that's what peeves me more than most things about this whole process, is really this thing kind of self-destructed, and it took kind of a ridiculous amount of time, just about 2 weeks, to get the parts to put this thing back together. Not that I really should even have to put it back together, because it's had 4 or 5 hours of use on it. So, anyways, I'm sure some of you were shaking your head wondering why the heck I would ever take this on and not just send this thing back. And really because, as you just saw me putting this back together, it was so insignificant to put back together under normal circumstances that I was really willing to take it on. But the jammed pulley, the stuff being bad tolerance, all that stuff I wasn't expecting. So this was 10 times more of a pain in the butt than it should have been. This should have been an afternoon. Well, oh my God. So maybe this is the end. This is the end of my physical review of the equipment, and maybe we'll get into a functional review the next time. Ran 2 hours non-stop. 1 tank of gas, never stalled, never got stuck, and I made a pretty impressive pile of chips over here. So, that's a good pile, half a pickup truck load maybe. Pretty close to it, a little level to the bed, not heaped. But yeah, and you guys probably don't notice quite as much, but there is a lot of brush gone. So much so I'm now starting to remember that, oh yeah, there's a big pile of bark down here at the bottom. That's all the wood I split last year. It's all the leftover bark. I put it down here to burn, and it never got burned, it just got buried. But so I'll call this a successful test of this thing being put back together. It looks like it's working right now. So I'll actually give this thing a review. But as you can see, it does some work. And for 2 hours and a tank of gas, that's a pretty good pile. Alright, well that's it guys. At least this thing's running again. And besides the maybe quality control issues, we can talk about how this thing actually works as a chipper. Alright, thanks.